You are about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating talk radio. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So before we begin, I got busted again by the Homeowners Association and had another hearing. And this hearing, I think this might be the last time they bring me in for a hearing because this is getting ridiculous. So, I'm no conspiracy theorist and, I don't like to play the victim card. But I got to tell you, my homeowners association has it out for me. They keep nailing me. So get this. Okay, so I've been living in the development. I've been living in Southern Nevada now for 12 years. Let me see. Whoa. Yeah, probably. I think I moved in 2015. Okay. All right. So then, yeah. Okay. So 11 years. I thought it was 12 years ago. I thought it was 2014. Doesn't matter. You're not supposed to park overnight on the street. All cars are supposed to be indoors. Okay, or not indoors. Yeah, in the bedroom. Cars are supposed to be on the garage or on the driveway. We've been following that. Once, there was an issue because I have two sons and one pulls the car out of the garage and the other kid came back late from going out and, so we might have gotten a ticket once in a while, but for the most part, we always park our cars, on the driveway or in the garage. Start hitting us again with violations saying you're parking on the street. I go, but it's overnight we're inside. They go, no, you're never allowed to park on the street. We're never allowed to park on the street. Meanwhile, I go outside and neighbors are parking on the street. So I ask the neighbors, you guys getting busted for this? They're like, no. But yeah, I guess we're not supposed to park now on the street. I go, when did they start enforcing this? They go, probably yesterday, but apparently it's one of their rules. Again, I don't know how many hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars I've had to give this homeowner association. And this follows me being really upset about Christmas Gate. You guys remember Christmas Gate? So I put up my Christmas lights. I take down the Christmas lights, but I really like Christmas lights. And so I decided on our internal atrium to have the white lights on the trees. You could do that, and it's not Christmas. All the Christmas lights are off the house, outside. Well, my neighbors told me a woman in a Mercedes was parked in front of our house taking pictures. She caught a picture inside. We have a gate that's blocked, and then you have the atrium and then our house. And again, fined us $100 for our Christmas lights. Meanwhile, our neighbor has the year-round Christmas lights, which is something I wanted to do. I want to get those year-round Christmas lights, so one, you don't have to keep paying to put them up, and two, then for Easter, then for Hanukkah, for Halloween, for 4th of July, you could have different colored lights. So I go to him and I go, oh man, they nailed me hard, and I didn't even have lights on the outside. You might want to take them down because they go, no, they haven't fined me at all. So I'm like, so they're just going after me. So at the hearing, I'm like, look, you got some explaining to do here why I keep getting, these fines when, my neighbors are not getting fined. I don't want them getting fined. Some of them have World Cup flags up. I don't blame them. I'm the one that gets in trouble. And I don't want to get them in trouble. I'm like, but you can't keep fining me. So one of the persons goes, it might be just luck. Some of these other people might be lucky that they're not getting caught. And you might have bad luck. And I go, well, this bad luck is extending to, he's like, nobody's, has it out for you. I go, well, then who is this person in the Mercedes that's parking in front of our car taking pictures? And all of a sudden this woman comes on going, okay, your time is up. Thank you very much. And she just looks like the type that would have a Mercedes. I'm sorry. Okay. I know we're not supposed to be profiling, but boy, did she get defensive. And she would not let me finish my statement about this woman in a Mercedes taking pictures of our property. And then 2 days later, us getting busted. It's supposed to be the patrolling security. So you could see everybody else is because they're probably like, hey, this chick has a Mercedes. I bet it's her. So she quickly tried to get me off. And, I somehow conveyed, yes, we might, legally pursue this further. I wonder if I could even get a restraining order. But, I go and I talk to neighbors about this. They go, the homeowners association is getting sued for embezzlement. They're going through this big, and I don't want to necessarily, when I'm ready, I'll tell you who it is, but I'm sure you guys already know who it is. There's this big homeowners association embezzlement suit, which kind of makes sense because I got to tell you, we give them so much money every year, and then they pull down trees, and they just get rid of vegetation, and then they plant more trees. And I'm like, why did you take down the original trees? Or they put up a gate, they take down the gate, and then they put up a new gate. And I'm like, just don't. The old gate was fine. Why are you taking our money and doing this? Just charge us. So I think maybe for now they're not going to call me back because I think they think that I think that they think that I think they're crooked. And this is some BS going on right now. And so I know a lot of you guys like with Dahlia just don't live in an area where there's a homeowners association. I know. Homeowners associations suck. I know. But I don't have time to pick up and move. The homes are expensive. And I think I want to fight the good fight. I don't want any of my neighbors getting in trouble. But what I really want, because if a lawyer goes, Dr. Dahlia, what is your goal? And I rarely sue. I don't want to sue. My goal is I want Christmas lights, okay? That's what I want. And I want to be able to, on Halloween, on Valentine's, on Easter, Passover, we don't do lights, but I'm sure I could do brown for matzah. I want to have the lights where every time there's a holiday, I can put the lights on. And if it means I have to move or if it means I have to fight the homeowners association, I'm going to do it. But the problem I have is they keep targeting me. And I have a big, big problem with that. Look, if I violate something, all right, I own up to it. But if I'm the only one getting busted for something that nobody else is, and you're making these random, all of a sudden you're randomly enforcing something, that's BS. So, but I really got to find out. I think now I know who this woman is who parks in front of our house, keeping on taking pictures. But this is, some of the BS that we deal with. And I get homeowner association help you with your property values. I got to admit, my property values have been pretty nice. Because you don't have, people, having pink houses and things like that. But this is harassment. And maybe they aren't going to harass me anymore now that I've kind of called out one of them. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, don't go away. Dr. Dahlia here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877 Doc Dahlia, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So jurors have begun deliberation on day 23 of the murder trial as it pertains to Lindsey, Clancy, and the murder of her 3 children, Cora, 5 years old, Dawson, 3 years old, and Callan, 8 months old. That happened January 2023. And this follows the closing statements from the defense and the prosecution. The defense trying to say that she got lousy medical care, that she was, a good mom. She was a victim in this. And the prosecution saying, was it really postpartum psychosis when she planned it out? So this is what the defense had to say.
She was a nurse, a daughter, a wife, and a darn good mother.
I'm kind of in disagreement with that because, a good wife would not murder her, husband's kids. Darn good mother. I think he really is stretching on that one. And I understand the psychosis defense, but I don't know if I would have really used those terms. This is what the prosecution had to say.
Those kids were her protective factor. Those kids were keeping her from ending her misery. And so she had to remove the protective factor.
So what was interesting about what the prosecution did is the prosecution had to show a motive. Why would Lindsey Clancy, if she was such a good mom, a former labor and delivery nurse, right? I mean, somebody whose career was involved in helping moms become moms and babies, make it to the outside world. Why would she? And the defense is saying, well, it was a voice she never heard before, never heard after, but in that specific time, the voice said, you need to do this. The prosecution has to now have the burden of proof of, well, why would she do it then? If she did plan this out, if this was premeditated, why would she want to kill her kids? And they said that was her relief. She couldn't be free in her mind if the kids were still there. Now, her husband divorced her about a year later. He remarried. In fact, I think he remarried a fertility doctor. And so obviously people are kind of questioning, was she doing it to get back at him? Was she, what? And again, the motive is still unclear. That really doesn't clarify things what the prosecution said. But with what we know about psychosis, we know that psychosis causes you to lose control of your mind and lose control of your actions. Now, we're debating, can you have psychosis for 18 minutes long? Can you have psychosis for 18 months? Will it only last 18 seconds? So I know there's some debate on what psychosis is, but where there's no debate is psychosis is a lack of control. So the burden of proof, I guess in Massachusetts, falls on the prosecution to show that she had control. Well, the way she strangled him, planned it, got her husband out of the house, looked things up online, that shows she had some form of control. And as I've said before, anybody who would kill their kids is psychotic. Anybody who would murder somebody else is psychotic. But what do we do so the average murderer doesn't keep going, yeah, but I was insane. I was insane, sorry. I should get off. And the reason why this is so important is because even though I think the average person and the average juror is going to say she needs to be in a mental institution, mental health facilities can discharge you. If she gets a prison sentence, that's a lot harder to get out of. But with a mental health institution, if they have doctors that go, well, she had a temporary psychosis back in January 2023. She's elicited absolutely no signs, has never heard voices since, is very clear, calm, collected, can't be tried again because of double jeopardy. But if we don't think she has active psychosis, they're not going to keep her. They can't. So she just has, the defense just has to prove to the jury that she was in a complete state of psychosis, had no control over any of her actions, and, was no way guilty of premeditated murder. Once that happens and she gets into the mental health facility, if the doctors at the mental health facility are like, she doesn't have psychosis, right? She's, we aren't going to give her medication for something she doesn't have. She could later be released. Now, do I really feel that Lindsey Clancy would be a threat to others? Being that, we don't know her motive, you would think it was just her kids. And her husband got the hell out of there. So, but, could she in the future, have a relationship and then, we don't know. So I think she does need to be incarcerated somewhere, whether it's a mental health facility or not, or prison. Prison with mental health professional resources and help. And I don't think she should get off in 5 years or a year or whatever. These mental health facilities are they're overrun. They need the beds. They need the room. And if a panel of doctors says she's good, I don't see any element of psychosis. I mean, if they claim she had psychosis during that 18 minutes and she hasn't heard any voices and she has no suicidal ideation or whatever, we can't comment on the case, but if she doesn't have psychosis now, we aren't keeping her. And so that's an issue. And as I've said before, now you could have criminals go, now I know what to do for my defense. Let me start going to the doctor a couple months prior or 2 weeks prior. Let me get this documented. I'm hearing voices. And then I could go plan my premeditated crime. And then I could have my defense go to that and subpoena that doctor. This is some dangerous, this could set a real dangerous precedent. Now, the ex-husband, and this is just so tragic. All the conversation is around, poor Miss Clancy and her postpartum depression. And mind you, there is a conversation we need to have on postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis and polypharmacy and doctor shopping and doctors not seeing patients in person like they used to. There is a discussion there. But we have 3 innocent children murdered. And if she said she kept asking for help, then when she heard that voice, why didn't she also ask for help? There's a lot of questions and there's a lot of holes in her argument. In the meantime, however, her husband and her have filed a medical malpractice lawsuit against her former medical team. And we're going to be talking about, doctors and culpability and if they do need to be, run through the mill with this. I'm still wondering if anybody is suing Biden's medical team for missing his prostate cancer that ended up being diagnosed as stage 4 days after him leaving office. I'm like, no, nobody's looking at that. Kind of confused. Really confused. You have a former commander-in-chief that nobody did an MRI cognitive evaluation of, cancer workup, prostate cancer screening, nothing. Which makes me think the doctors wanted to, and they said no. That there is no case because the doctors did suggest it. And the commander-in-chief's team or whoever was auto-penning for him said, hell no. That's a different conversation for a different day. So the jury, I don't think they're going to come up with a quick answer on this, because if you're looking at the country right now and you're seeing all these people standing in pink shirts praying for the victim, not the kids who were killed, but the mom, there's a good chance that on this jury, there are people who really, really feel that the mom is a victim of a poor healthcare system. Some of the jurors might also think, she already lost everything. She lost use of her legs. She lost her kids. She lost her husband. She's been punished enough. So I don't know if it's going to be a slam dunk. Apparently, they asked the judge to look at the pills and the murder weapon, or one of the a knife that she used for her suicide. But no verdict yet. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY.
Looking for a gift that can actually help secure someone's future? It's Mark Falter's new book, Common Sense Income Strategies. It makes the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using time-tested strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. To learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Secure your future with Common Sense Income Strategies by Mark Falter. Again, to learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I was little, and there was a movie I remember my family was like watching or talking about. I think it was a Tom Selleck movie, My Alibi. I don't remember much. I didn't see it. I was kind of too young at the time. But it was about somebody, I think, being wrongly accused. I don't really remember the movie much, but I remember my parents having a conversation, and I was like, oh my gosh, what if I get arrested for something I didn't do? And I was really terrified by that concept. And, they assured me usually, good police work, investigative work, evidence, witnesses, it's rare that it happens. Well, now maybe not. In fact, looks like the more surveillance, the more issues there could be. Christiana Elser, a woman from Denver, was wrongly accused and issued a court summons for package theft after police relied on flock automated license plate reader cameras and unverified doorbell footage, according to WHAS 11. So Sergeant Jamie Millman of the Columbine Valley Police Department had to confront Miss Elser, claimed the license plate readers and video prove she stole a package in Beaumar, Colorado. She said that wasn't her. And he was saying, we have 100% proof it's you. You're on the video, it's you. So if you have an issue, take it up to court. She wanted to see the video, but he gave her the court summons. And, basically, she ended up having to go to court. Luckily, Miss Elser had built-in exterior cameras on a Rivian vehicle, cell phone location logs, and footage from a tailor she visited to prove she never was at that crime scene in Beaumar. She actually located the actual suspect's video on Nextdoor. She had to submit the evidence. You had to prove you were innocent because she was assumed guilty, which scares me in America. The police chief did review the findings, voided her summons, issued a my bad letter. And again, I'm very, very pro-police, and I understand, it's not, police are not the judge and jury, but why did they rely on faulty tech? Even though the narrative now is this flock camera system is the best of the best. Apparently, they issued a reprimand to the sergeant involved. If the sergeant was supposed to issue the summons, I give him kind of a pass because he's not the one that reviewed. When you're being told you need to go and deliver a summons, you do that. Everybody's going to say, I didn't do it. Or I had psychosis. Or, I mean, everybody's going to say they had something. So I don't know necessarily how much I would blame him. I blame whoever decided she needed to be summoned without thoroughly looking. And obviously this case could have been prevented by using evidence in addition to the flocking camera. But I think with AI, we get lazy. So it's just what the camera showed. Why didn't they look at her cell phone pings? Why didn't they look at, where's the detective on this? See, AI is being used to save time, to be efficient. So if the camera is wrong, you're screwed. Now, somebody could say, well, it was just a theft issue. What about this one? Lindsey Isaacs, a 23-year-old Florida woman, was in jail for 13 days because they claim she caused a deadly multi-vehicle crash in Sanford, Florida, last October. A motorcyclist got killed and a county official and his wife. But this 23-year-old Florida woman gets in prison, gets jailed, because they say the flock safety camera matched her black Dodge Durango. Witnesses described a maroon Durango. But according to News Nation, investigators relied on a solitary automated license plate reader that placed Isaac's black Durango 3 miles away around the time of the crash. Her car had no damage. She proved that she was somewhere else during the time of the crash. Yet police moved forward with the arrest. She spent nearly 2 weeks behind bars and 7 months in legal turmoil before authorities finally arrested the actual owner of the damaged maroon, which was Elisa Montalvo. Now Isaacs and her attorney are suing the Florida Highway Patrol. They also claim there was damage evidence, and they ignored basic exculpatory proof. What's going on here? Now, in medicine with malpractice, okay, we're in big trouble. But if you have an abnormal test, so for example, let's say somebody gets a biopsy and they have a side effect or an adverse event from that biopsy, and they want to sue the doctor. If they never had an abnormal biopsy or no need to have that biopsy done, they got a case. But if the lab or the pathology suggests that they had cancer and an aggressive cancer, then it's harder to sue because the data's there. The police have to go by you had somebody who died. So their data that they're using is this flock camera system. So they probably thought it was safer to go, but here we could blame the AI. Here's the AI told us this. Well, we're not there yet. We don't trust the AI. We think a lot of AI sucks. Sorry, we do. And even though, we understand the police force has been defunded, has been ridiculed, has lost recruitment, is understaffed and underpaid, they're looking to things to help and to minimize there being any sort of debate. And there's a chance that these flock camera systems have actually helped the police more times than not. But you get a case or two of misidentity, no one's going to want to use them. In fact, apparently a trend now is people destroying flock surveillance equipment because they don't want to be on camera. Well, there's cameras everywhere. And so when I heard, well, now you also have flock, and everybody's like, what the flock is this? I wherever I drive, I'm in Southern Nevada, there's cameras on. I've learned not to at all pick my nose or adjust the bra while I'm at a stoplight because there's a camera on you. So I just already know that there's cameras everywhere. And by the way, you're really not supposed to pick your nose. Just blow your nose lightly. But if you got to adjust the bra, you got to adjust the bra. But I just come to learn there's cameras everywhere. So I'm always on camera. So I smile, make sure I look pretty because I'm on camera. But this is scary to think that you could be, and then I think there's a Milwaukee woman now that Amber Newell. Here's another one. This is, she was pulled over at gunpoint on I-94 after Milwaukee police failed to remove her vehicle from the flock camera database following a homicide investigation. So she was stopped. Her car was flagged for being connected to a homicide. But she wasn't involved in this. And really at gunpoint? And again, this isn't the police's fault if they're being told you need to have proof of everything you do. There's got to be cameras everywhere. And if the camera is showing something that looks, to what they believe is identical, going with what they have. But if the camera system is flawed, and I don't know who the flock people are, but they better get this figured out. Because people do not want to be wrongly detained. 1-877 Dr. Dolly.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. We've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high-quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel, such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today at our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
Hey, America. How tired are you of mainstream corporate media's biased narratives and manipulated news? Their dishonesty and attempts to influence this generation have been exposed, put on display for anyone who's even half paying attention. But the New American Magazine has been an honest source of news and commentary for over 50 years. This is your opportunity to receive the stalwart of principled journalism at a deep discount. Picture a beautifully published magazine arriving at your doorstep twice a month, packed with insightful stories written with integrity. It's also available digitally on the New American's mobile app. Get up to speed with intelligent coverage from a freedom perspective. Right now, for a limited time, the New American is available to radio listeners at a 25% discount on a new subscription. Visit thenewamerican.com/radio25 and receive 25% off. Subscribe today at thenewamerican.com/radio25.
And we're back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877 DOCDALI. At least 1,924 people are missing in Nepal, although the numbers are going up. And unfortunately, among them are 517 foreign nationals. As of yesterday, they believed at least 90 Americans were missing. The death toll in Nepal has risen to 579. 5 people have died in Tibet, with over 558 people reported missing. According to BBC News, many of the reports are being relied upon by Chinese state media, especially as it pertains to Tibet. So whatever we're getting a good amount from Chinese state media. They say that the number of people missing has risen to close to 2,000, 575 foreign nationals. Chinese officials are monitoring a barrier lake that formed following the landslide. It temporarily suspended search efforts earlier over fears there could be a breach. So as they believe it was a glacier that broke, and then mudslides ensued, and then came a lack of structures that could have kept water at bay. Flooding comes in, floods out valleys, forms a lake, and then now you've lost road access. It's very, very scary as people are waiting to see where their loved ones are, and how to find survivors. And we're watching, military carry people on their backs out of floodwaters. Just dramatic footage. You also see people sheltering in a building that remains standing after the torrent of the water, but they're waiting to be rescued. You see debris hitting against the building. You hope the building can still last, but the single building is now housing a bunch of people that need to be saved. It looks like all hands on deck from all over the world. People are helping, but we're starting to talk to survivors, and they're basically describing it like it was a tsunami. The rescuers are fearing there's going to be a fresh deluge coming. There's monsoon-fueled storms, and this could get pretty dangerous. Death toll has climbed over 500. At least 2,500 people are missing across China and Nepal, dozens of Americans included. 2 of the only known U.S. survivors told CNN that the water hit like a tsunami. They were able to narrowly escape to higher ground, according to CNN. So, rescuers now are kind of racing to recover the survivors in the area. Over 90,000 people have been impacted, and we believe even more. When you look at the satellite imagery, it is just heartbreaking. These valleys near these beautiful mountains that still have glaciers on them, they believe that the glacier that broke went down a 7,000-foot drop, causing a landslide. And so the 7,000 feet plus mountainous range sadly allows for a lot of force and gravity to bring down, and for there to be more, Rolling Stone gathers no moss sort of thing, and gather more as it comes down. And you just see valleys absolutely destroyed. I look back at that soccer team that was trapped in the cave and in Thailand. And this was a case that happened back in 2018 where these kids had a soccer practice. It was somebody's birthday. They decided before they went to celebrate the birthday to enter the Tam Lane cave system, which many of them did. Gorgeous cave system. If I was there in Thailand, I would have wanted to visit it. So they go, it's starting to rain, but unfortunately the rain came out pretty badly. It flooded the tunnels, blocked their way out, and it kept pushing them deeper in to the cave system because they had to find higher ground. With them was one of their, I believe, assistant coaches, and there were, I think it was 13 kids. How rescuers got to them is they dove. They couldn't pull them out. They couldn't dig into the mountain. The rains just kept coming. This was June 23rd, 2018, early for monsoon season, when they usually close off the caves. But weather's unpredictable. So how they got them out was Thai Navy SEALs, I believe Americans, British. They sedated them and pulled them through in wetsuits and in scuba gear. Got them sedated because they'll panic if they're in scuba gear, so they had to sedate them fully. And while under anesthesia, get them through the miles of caves. And they did, which was amazing. Sadly, one fatality, Saman Gunan, died, one of the Thai Navy SEALs. or former Thai Navy SEALs. But these areas that are some of the most beautiful areas in the world are so vulnerable to flooding, so vulnerable to these natural disasters. And you just wonder, I was talking to my producer about this, about the infrastructure and what, they've what do they do in anticipation of this? Are there dams? Are there levees? Are there shelters? And there was no warning. When this glacier broke off, which you would think somebody would anticipate that these things could happen, but there was just nothing anybody could do. And when I look at the video, I don't even know how infrastructure could have helped prevent that. With the exception of don't be in that village, don't be in that valley. But valleys have been inhabited for centuries. You got the water, you got the vegetation, you got the rich soil. Of course, people are going to want to live in these beautiful valleys. I live in a valley. I live in the Las Vegas. It's a beautiful valley. We're surrounded by mountains. But we never get any rain, sadly, so we don't get any sort of precipitation. So, but flooding can happen, and we do get flooding. When we do get rain and the monsoon season comes, we have some pretty significant flooding that could kill. Which is why we have to make sure we have the drain systems, we have the warning systems. There was no warning, and people had absolutely no idea that this was coming. And unfortunately, this is probably one of the biggest natural disasters we've seen in recent years. And it's frightening. And then you wonder what other areas and villages and valleys are at risk. Nature wins. This saying, man danks, God links. Man works, God laughs. Nature wins. We could think that we have everything under control. And we just cannot overcome the power of nature. I watched Deadliest Catch. And one of the latest episodes, someone gets thrown overboard or somebody falls overboard. They were able to rescue him. Something like that would be nearly impossible in, high, rough seas and high waves but luckily he was in, some sort of a protective suit. He was wearing red, and they had a plan, and they got him out and they saved him without needing the Coast Guard, which was absolutely amazing. But when you look at the power and you just look at the shock that everybody has where nature's fighting us, nature will fight you. And you need to, as a city or country, be aware that and always anticipate these risks. And I think a lot of countries that either are, overpopulated or don't have the funds or don't care, look at things as, it's never going to happen. So we're not going to spend the money. We're not, we have to go through, Parliament, or we have to go through our legislative process to get funding to do something. And if there's no urgency, it doesn't get done. And with something like this, they can't let another disaster like this happen again. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, don't go away.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by financial fitness show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.